the reasons behind why we believe that Mexico is the next, or nearshore options, right, is the next best option for organizations within North America, right? So if you really think about convergence of technology that's taking place today, right? Last time something major happened where a lot of technologies converged together was probably during when electricity was discovered. Now you're looking at robotics, AI, data, big data, IoT, VR, AR. There are all these technologies that are coming together, and a lot of organizations are trying to figure out how to make them work, right? And there are a lot of difficulties that are taking place to come up with business cases or use cases for how we can leverage these technologies together, right? So if we really think about what happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, a lot of good individuals got surplused. A lot of organizations started thinking through how will this survive, right? Everyone was concerned with our top line. That caused a lot of layoffs. Folks lost their jobs, and then the same organizations discovered that, hey, work needs to get done. We made mistakes. So we started bringing all these individuals back from a talent perspective. That really caused that whole supply and supply and demand issues, and that created an increase in cost, right? So now the same talent that we were paying X dollars for is costing us way more, where these talent didn't really upskill per se, right? So now so at that point, the conversation was, or the thought process was, that is that sustainable long term during pandemic and post-pandemic? Because when the organizations are overspending on their operational expenses just to retain their top line, that means their bottom is suffering terribly, right? And what options do we have? So that's when organizations are looking at offshore resources, Manila, India, Philippines, all those different countries, right? So how can we solve for this differently, right? So we believe a lot of data, we did a lot of research on maybe nearshore, or Mexico in particular, is a good option for North America. Most of the customers that we entertain live in North America, US, Canada, right? Across the border, north of the border, right? So how can we provide them what they're needing? And we also believe that Mexico is primed to be the next supply chain leader, right? Especially now with the geopolitical issues we're having with folks on the other side of the world, right? Why not? Right? You look at a lot of different industries, manufacturing, healthcare, technology, that are being established in Mexico, and the government of Mexico, what they're doing to ensure they continue to support that level of progress, right? So now you look at easy access. From North America, Mexico, from Texas, let's say, we're based in Texas, it's 2-hour flight. So it's quick from wherever you need to be. It's also easy to get to any of the south borders, or even from the northern states, right? The quality of talent. The Mexican quality of talent, we believe, is top notch. I can take any of that talent and compete it against anyone else in the world, and they will absolutely succeed, right? Whether it's in development, it's in project management, or in this case, call center, right? Also, pressure of the cost. Now, if you look at within the context of US talent, Mexican talents today are anywhere from 30 to 40% cheaper, right? So now it goes back to the previous issue of how do we save on expenses, how do we save on costs, yet continue to deliver quality work. Time zone. There's really no time zone difference. Well, now it's a little off, right? You have the Baja Peninsula doing their own thing, then you have rest of the Mexico doing their own thing, then you have Cancun saying, I'm not gonna follow anyone. So there's 3 different time zones today, but that will change, hopefully, when we figure out what we need to do here, hopefully soon, right? So when that happens, those challenges still be limited. It's an hour or so, one way or the other, but that really still helps to deliver quality work for clients within North America. Then investment. Mexico is so a lot of our relationships that we have within Mexico with the government officials there, they have made a huge investment and commitment and continue to build technologies, continue to invest in universities that are there, continue to ensure that the next group of graduates that come out of schools are actually the ones that can take on the challenge of the world, technology and otherwise. So there's huge investments that Mexico is making in training and technology. Talent that are there, 100% bilingual. So you don't have to worry about sending your call center resources across the pond and worry about, will I pay more for a bilingual resource? Or will they even speak Spanish? Again, call center world, services, sales, support, most of our customers need English or Spanish, and Canada French, right, to an extent, right? Mexico provides all three. And now there's a huge push to also get students to learn German as well as Portuguese. So there's a huge push to get German, Portuguese, French, and of course Spanish by default. And anyone that we are working with within Nearshore, Mexico, the students that are out of schools, they have to have a certain level of English in order to graduate. If you don't have a certain level of English, you will not get your diploma. So the schools are pushing for continuous education, continuous growth and development. 95% retention rate, right? So the biggest challenge that we also face when this whole pandemic started is of course the cost was going up, but the commitment level was decreasing. People were switching jobs for 5 cents somewhere else, right? Or you would have to hire 10 individuals for one to show up and roll the dice. Who's gonna show up, right? Where what we've learned here, based on the labor laws, particularly in Mexico, the retention rate is extremely high. Now, why is that? You have to work for an organization for 1 year before you can get your 12 days vacation time. So people are encouraged to stay and not jump, right? Number two, well, of course, then you have your Mexican holidays versus US holidays, and you have to figure that out, how the costs can be different, because if they work on US holidays or Mexican holidays, you have to pay 2.5x, or if they work on US holidays, or if they're off on US holidays, you still have to pay them. So everyone there is extremely motivated to work for a US-based organization and stay, right? Because not only they're getting extra money when they work on Mexican holidays, but they're getting those extra holidays, 12 days of vacation, plus or minus 10 or so other national holidays, right? So that's what's happening. Now, if you also look at taxes, just like Social Security that we have here. In Mexico, there's called IMSS. So the money that gets deposited into IMSS based on your time that you work for a particular organization, there's a certain amount of money that gets deposited into your account, and you can use that to buy a home. So that is the best way to home ownership. So now, no one wants to jump around from company to company because you miss out on those credits, right? So if you have credit, then you will get tax-free loan from the government to buy a house, and that money can be deducted from your payroll. So that is extremely best, beautiful way of getting into home ownership. So again, that also helps us and others towards employee retention. Now, if you look at Mexico, we in particular are in love with Querétaro. So Querétaro is 2.5 hours north of Mexico City, 6,500 feet elevation, perfect weather all year long. It's a UNESCO's World Heritage Site, and it's the safest place you can find in Mexico. So when you look at that, when you look at the context of the weather, you look at the context of the culture, you look at the safety, there's no way you should not be in Querétaro. Plus everyone knows San Miguel, which is you have to fly into Querétaro to drive up to San Miguel, right? So it's a perfect place to be, to do business. Plus there are 100+ universities in Querétaro, so it's very easy to recruit talent from Querétaro, and this talent is committed, quality, and of course in technology, right? So again, the strategic location where Querétaro sits, and also in terms of manufacturing and other supply chain. All the truck routes, train routes, and plane routes stop at Querétaro. Their airport can fly in 777, which is fantastic, and there are international flights coming from all over the world to Querétaro. So it's easy access for other executives, right? So you'll see executives from China, Japan, Korea, India, all over the world that are making Querétaro one of their homes. Security, I talked about that. The security there is top notch. When we go there, we're out. We shouldn't be, but we're out quite late, and we've never thought twice about going home safe. Then you look at infrastructure, connectivity, international level. We talked about that. The infrastructure is sound, solid. Internet providers are providing 99.99 uptime. That's their SLAs. It's not, hey, if it goes, it goes. There are organizations out there that'll provide you backup generators. We have in our buildings There's all redundancy built in for electricity as well as internet, right? And you can stay up and live and get your business running 48 hours post electricity issues, right? The only issue, the one big issue that you can't face is if electric pole is down and your internet connection goes down, redundancy is not going to help, right? So we have to figure some of those things out. We're still trying to figure some of that out. Again, the profile and productivity of talent that comes out of there and the quality that comes out of there, education, they're investing, I mentioned that before, in education, and a lot of investment, international and local, domestic investments that are getting flooded into Querétaro, as well as there's a huge sense of community. The city of Querétaro takes pride in hosting international events, in hosting conferences. This year, we hosted our first data chain AI conference last week in Querétaro. We were there for that, and we had likes of Microsoft, Meta, AWS, all these executives showed up. And we're planning on doing the next one in September, I believe. So there's a lot of investment and support that the state is also providing the city of Querétaro and in Mexico at large. So I think from going back to the biggest challenge of top line and bottom line, I encourage others, whoever I speak to look into nearshore options, and primarily in Mexico for that reason, right? Again, talent is high, quality is high, and the cost is relatively low, and the commitment level is super, super high when you look at offshoring or taking any business away from US. So thank you. Any questions? I'm trying to make it quick as possible.